The British government is drawing conclusions from the sometimes chaotic conditions in trade with the EU. Companies get more time to adapt to new conditions. And by the way, you should stay tuned until the end if you don't want to miss anything interesting. And if you don't want to miss anything at all, just subscribe to my channel and click the little bell. Due to difficulties in trade after Brexit and due to the Corona pandemic, the UK is postponing planned import controls by half a year. The government announced that full customs controls would not be introduced until January 2022. This will give the companies more time to prepare for changes at the border and to minimize disruptions, was the explanation given. The government listened to companies and recognized the extent of the challenges companies face in adapting to the new requirements. Well, the help of the government wasn't there the last 4 years, that's the problem. Business associations welcomed the move. The UK had announced a 6-month transition period for customs controls after the final Brexit. Since the country left the EU customs union, there have been numerous customs and trade barriers. Trade with the EU fell significantly in January. According to the British government, the volume of trade with the EU has increased back to normal since February, although some associations really deny that. And something else, in the end, everyone just wanted Brexit to be over. Now one can hope that share prices will benefit from the fact that the hanging game is over. The Brexit decision in 2016 was a loud bang that reverberated for years, much to the detriment of the EU and the UK, economically, politically, and on the capital market. But even if the tremors will still be felt for a while, for investors, the future counts in a new reality. And that seems easier to plan, which is always an argument for turning to previously unpopular investment opportunities with a fresh eye. When looking at the British FTSE 100 share index and the European Euro Stoxx 50, it cannot be overlooked that these are internationally behind since the Brexit decision. But they did that before, only that the gap has widened further. When British fund managers are now praising the domestic and European markets, it seems less to be the national alliance with the consequences of Brexit are to be belittled. Rather, it is probably the optimism that where the nuisance has largely disappeared, the domestic stock market could increasingly catch up in the course of the recovery from the Corona pandemic, at least a bit. And another Brexit consequence, picking daffodils in the county of Lincolnshire in England. In Great Britain, the flower business usually brings in millions. The kingdom has been the world's largest exporter of yellow daffodils, as known as spring flowers or whatever you might call them. But with Brexit and the Corona pandemic, a large part of the plants is threatened to rot. The biggest problem is the staff who are not allowed to come to do the work. And that's due to Brexit. We'd normally have 100 to 150 people to pick. Now there are 25 here because they just don't come across, says horticultural manager Kevin Haynes. There are regulations for the entry of harvest workers. But flower growing is not part of it, even if it is an important industry there in Lincolnshire. Before Brexit, 25 million daffodils were harvested annually on this flower farm alone. Now after Brexit, they expect a harvest of 6 million. Because Europeans are no longer allowed to work in companies like this because ornamental plants are classified differently than fruits and vegetables. A quirk that is already having a major impact on UK flower growers. From the exemptions for harvest workers, there's only one thing: only farmers who grow food benefit. The few pickers who have stayed on this farm have been there since last summer. Adam Taylor said he had no right to request a visa for the rest of them. He's one of the largest daffodil growers in the world, but cannot export anything this year. People in the UK voted for Brexit, but those details were not explained enough to be understood, or, as I would say, covered with mountains of lies. At Christmas, we were told there was a fantastic deal and everything was going to be great, but that's not true. Politicians are now saying that everything is easy, everything is possible. But that's really not the case, says flower grower Adam Taylor. The government has announced that it will be monitoring the situation of flower growers to ensure that their problems are resolved. This is how seasonal workers should be found: on site. But the daffodil farmers can ignore a large part of this year's harvest, because it will rot. And something more positive, RWE, the German energy company, secured capacity premiums of 6.5 gigawatts at an auction for the British electricity market. That is 16% of all advertised capacities. According to its own information, the Essen-based energy company has thus secured agreements for delivery in 2024 and 2025 for almost all locations. It refers to information provided by the British transmission system operator National Grid. Accordingly, the auction was closed at a price of £18, that's about 21 euros per kilowatt per year. The UK government has yet to confirm the results, but RWE sees Great Britain as one of the key markets to expand its portfolio of renewable energies. The British government wants to supply roughly every household on the island with offshore wind energy by 2030 and has therefore increased its expansion target from 30 to 40 gigawatts.